Have you guys ever wondered that why, despite of having listed all the details about yourself in your resume, the interviewer still prefers to start the session by asking, "Tell us something about yourself"? Well, the reason for this is that interviewers like listening to information being presented to them in the form of verbal expression in contrast to referring to a printed document. Yes, this simply means that they directly like to hear from the horse's mouth that given a chance, how would the candidate like to narrate the story of his life in his own words? Hello friends, my name is Ankit, and in this video I'm going to share with you the best way to answer to the question, "Tell me something about yourself." Now, tell us something about yourself does not mean that you go right back to your childhood memories and start sharing tales of your first love, your favorite rock band, or your obsession with Harry Potter. Rather, think about the awards, accolades, or experiences you've had in your life so far. Consider the themes, personality traits, and skills that come across through these experiences and introspect as to which of these are the most important to get across through recruiters. The first step in the introduction process is thanking the interviewer for giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself. So you could simply start your conversation by saying, "Thank you for providing me the opportunity to introduce myself." Or you could also say, "Thank you for shortlisting me for the personal interview round," which will show the interviewer your courteous nature. When asked to introduce, make it a point to always state your full name. Say your name in style and with a sense of pride. Say it in a way like these are the most wonderful set of words you've come across throughout your life, which will ultimately reflect your confidence level. One of the most common mistakes I've experienced candidates doing is saying, "Myself Akash Gupta" or "Myself Vikas Bansal," which is grammatically incorrect. The best way to state your name is by simply saying, "I am Akash Gupta" or "My name is Vikas Bansal." The next thing which needs to be mentioned is the place you belong to. My point here is that don't just simply mention the name of your native place, but rather jazz this piece of information up by adjoining an interesting fact to it. So for example, you could phrase this sentence as, "I'm a native of the commercial capital of India, Mumbai. I have been born and brought up in the pink city of India, Jaipur." The next thing you should be talking about is your educational qualifications. The best thing to do in this case is to highlight the details about the last 2 degrees accomplished by you, mentioning about the most recent one towards the end. So for example, if you're simply an undergraduate, you can share details pertaining to your secondary and higher secondary education. If you are a graduate, then you can mention details about your higher secondary and graduation degree. And if you're a postgraduate, then you can emphasize upon your graduation and master's degree. But the question which arises over here is that what is it that needs to be mentioned? Tell the name of the institution you have passed out from. Disclose the percentage marks if you think you've scored fairly well, or else just talk about other awards or accolades granted to you during your academic tenure. Share the name of the subject you majored in. Do mention the extracurricular activities you've been a part of in your school or college days. Give a brief about any research project or case study you have been associated to. The next thing which needs to be stated is the reason for choosing the professional stream which you're already pursuing or wish to seek a career in. State a convincing reason which prompted you to opt for the particular stream, and have your own unique reason to amuse the interviewer. So for example, if you're pitching for a sales job, you could say something like this: I wish to pursue a job in the sales and marketing department, as sales is all about helping other people to achieve their goals and solve their problems by introducing your company's product or services to them. So I would love to work for getting this genuine feeling of being useful to people. And if you're applying for a job in the hospitality sector, you can say something like, I chose to be in the hospitality industry as I believe I am a people pleaser and I like to bring a smile on people's face. When you start talking about your work experience, initiate the conversation by telling the interviewer how many years of experience you bring along with you, followed by mentioning the details only about the first and the most recent job role. And if you're just a fresher, then you could simply emphasize on any sort of industrial or vocational training program you have undergone. I bring along a total of 7 years of extensive experience with me in the financial sector, wherein I started my journey with RS Enterprises as a general cashier, and in my last assignment I've been associated to Deloitte as an internal auditor. Talking about your strengths is one of the most important aspects of a job interview, as it provides you with the opportunity to explain it to the interviewer that why you are the best qualified candidate for this job. Highlighting on 3 key strengths works out to be the best in this case. My advice to you is that don't just simply pick any random strength you have been told by people around you that you have, like a good cook, a fast runner, a responsible driver, or helpful to friends. Because if these strengths are not relevant to the job role you're applying for, then they don't really matter to the employer. The best thing to do in this case is to understand the responsibilities of the job role you're applying for, and then try to find out which of your key strengths will relate the most to this role in specific, which will be music to the interviewer's ears. So for example, if you're applying for a journalist job, then mentioning that you are a good communicator, a multitasker, and a great shorthand typist will help you to please the interviewer. Or if you're applying for a leadership role in an organization, then stating problem solver, good team player, and being goal-oriented as your key strengths will make the interviewer like you. But make sure that for every strength mentioned by you, you have a strong personal story or experience to share if asked, which will help in exemplifying your case well and will leave a better impression in the interviewer's mind. The next thing you should be talking about is your weakness. You guys must be wondering, weakness? Are you serious? Well, yes I am. So before raising your eyebrows, hear me out. No one in this world is perfect, and hence sharing your weakness tells the interviewer that you're being honest to them. Now the trick is that when talking about your weakness, tell something which is insignificant and will not harm or affect your work in any way. Some of the examples are, I can't say a no to people. I believe that I am quite open, direct, and straightforward in my approach. I think I get a bit emotional at times. But if the interviewer asks you a question on this, make sure you are able to back it up well, talking about ways this weakness of yours affects you and what efforts have you taken to curtail it. Declare your mission statement, which should be something which you religiously preach, and mention the name of your role model whose footsteps you follow to achieve your life's purpose. I am a strong believer of the saying that action speaks louder than words, which implies that just simply saying that you'll do something does not mean much. Actually doing it is harder and more meaningful. I regard my father as my true source of inspiration, as he is the most honest, considerate, and diligent person I have ever come across in my life. When you talk about your family members, first specify the number. Start with mentioning about your parents and then come down to your siblings. You need not mention your family member's name, just the profession or occupation will do. Including me, my family consists of 4 members. My father, who's working as a scientist with a government organization, my mother, who's working as a fine arts teacher, and an elder sister who is working as a doctor by profession. Now, for those of you whose mother is not into any profession, never say that my mother is a housewife, which is completely misleading. Instead, use the phrase homemaker, which makes much more sense. Talking about hobbies, try to lay emphasis upon the most interesting part-time activities you love to indulge yourself in. Learn to phrase your hobbies in a unique manner. So for example, instead of simply saying, I like reading books, you could say that, in my free time, I like to curl up in the corner with a good book. And instead of mentioning cycling as your favorite pastime activity, you could phrase it as, I like saddling up my bike in the woods during the early morning hours. Or instead of mentioning diary entry as your favorite hobby, you could say, I like to unwind my day by making a note of the day's affairs in a diary, sipping in my favorite cup of hot chocolate. It is extremely important to throw some light upon your life's aim while introducing yourself. Now, aim can be split into 2 parts, a short-term and an ultimate long-term goal. People who are said to have a short-term as well as long-term vision are considered to be more futuristic and focused in their career. Let's try to see an example of this. My immediate goal is to get on to the managerial role within the initial 5 years of my working experience, and my ultimate aim is to become a successful entrepreneur in the restaurant business. Now don't just abruptly stop talking and end up your introduction with an ambiguous pause. Always intimate your interviewer by letting them know that you are done introducing yourself, and they may proceed further with the interview process. So you may conclude your introduction by saying, well, that was just a brief summary of my journey so far. However, if you would like to know any further details, I would be glad to share it. So we just discussed the ingredients which are essential to prepare the dish called personal introduction, and as in the case of cooking a dish, the proportion of using these ingredients is extremely important, and that is the reason I emphasize on the amount of detail to be shared while speaking about each element in specific. The second most important thing while preparing a dish is the cooking time, and that is the reason I recommend that introducing yourself should at least take 60 seconds to avoid your dish from being undercooked, preferably 90 seconds for wonderful taste, but not in any case more than a couple of minutes, which will make your dish slightly overcooked, and I'm sure you don't want that to happen. And last but not the least, it is the sequence of adding ingredients which is imperative for a lip-smacking recipe. Hence, it is of utmost importance to mention these elements in the order we just discussed, starting with thanking the interviewer, telling your name and the place you belong to, talking about your educational qualifications, followed by mentioning the reason for choosing the particular profession, sharing details about your work experience or any training exposure you have, highlighting on your key strengths and weakness, stating your mission statement and telling about your role model, talking about your family, hobbies, aim in life, and finally concluding it. Thank you for watching this video, and I believe it would be of great help to you. In case you need any further assistance relating to this topic, then do share your comment below and I would love to address it. Good luck to you.